Hi, so in today's video, I'll be telling you about my friend Mia and her friend Klaudia, with whom I was about to start working. Okay, so that's the next section of my book, Piglet. It's a section entitled Portraits of Insane. So if that's something for you, then stay tuned and off we go. Um, yeah, so where do I start with you? I think, Klaudia had this not ability, but she had extrasensory perception developed, and she could easily, she could easily tune with me. She could easily be my friend, and as I was into astrology at that time, she told me where I could check my time of birth, and um, and she likes astrology too, but she had this thing about her that she always used a way to learn a thing instead of asking directly, like um, instead of asking me, so what was the thing with the court case over the placement, or what was what was in your diagnosis or something. She just told me that she was scared of staying alone at home, and she was checking what would I say to that? Right. But I didn't share with her. So I would appreciate a more, explicit and direct conversation. Because at the time, she told me, she asked me a question later when I was about to start working with them, like, are you as fucked up as I am that you like astrology? Yeah. Oh no, she actually said, oh, I forgot that you're as fucked up as I am that you like astrology. So I didn't like this sentence, because if I would say yes, then I would agree that I was, fucked up and that I liked astrology, and only one of these two is true for me. That I like astrology. Yeah. So when we had the meeting during which I met Klaudia and Mia's boyfriend, I was writing about. I was writing something about in my book about married men and so on. So he was. I think Mia's boyfriend was just acting on my thoughts, and he was acting, pretending to be interested. So he asked me about my phone number, and I told him to ask Mia. And when he did, she goes like, "But what for?" And he's like that. And she goes again, "But what for?" And I think that was a good question, actually. And, I was told that he was lacking money for the beer, but when we met, he was willing to buy beer for all three of us. So I just thanked him, and I went to buy my own beer because I knew they had this conversation and they had this problem. So, um, really, that was the game of confusion. I don't have the money for my girlfriend, but I have sometimes the money for my girlfriend and her friends. Uh, that's a little bit weird. And, um, you know, um, he even implied to me something like, she kept you away from me. And uh, I was just like thinking that this relationship wasn't doing well. Yeah, and then later, we went to the gallery in the main square, and I was stunned to see, young people being the owners of the gallery. In the gallery, of course, not good quality things were hanging on the walls, but it was a very specific interior because it was very narrow and quite long, and it was very, very high. But the thing is, it was in the main square, and I just don't remember where exactly was the entrance. Um, yeah, it was on the right side of the main square. But okay. So the work with Klaudia started with her request to translate something for her. So I did, and I paid on my own for error correction for the proofreader, because it was a translation from Polish into English. And I have to tell you, I paid him so that he wouldn't be, he would be appreciated as a person who contributed with their work. So I was basically very, very cheap. Um, and then with when I started to coming to their company to start a work of a person who gets the clients and gets the toys being sold in other shops in the UK. Um, I was told that the translation of some names that I have chosen were translated into different names, uh, which is totally a very, very subjective thing, I would say, especially in the case of names. And I was asked by Mia, like, when is the translation bad? So I'm like, gee, like, do they think I did a wrong translation or something? Because I would like to be confronted about it and maybe come up with a different version of a name, or different solution. Because obviously, when you work with the client, then they can tell you. Um, what they think you should change, for example, and that's probably fine too, because translation is also a subjective work, but it's got some rulers, of course, too. um, yeah. And when it comes to that work, I was told that people at this work make 20,000 a month from the sales in other countries. And I was actually, when it came to signing the agreement, I was offered an hour less than I had at McDonald's. And I was stunned, because of course it would vary. If I wanted to have higher salary, then I would have a lower percentage from the sale, and I could choose a higher percentage from the sale and lower money per hour. But I was offered less than at McDonald's, than as a blue collar worker. So that agreement didn't sound reliable to me. Um, and during that time, as you were offered something like that, and you had a few trial days when you could see if you like it or you didn't like it, then you could obviously think, okay, then I could start looking for a flat to rent, and I was renting just a room. Or I could quit a job at McDonald's, and I could have 2 more days or 1 more day working with them. Luckily, I didn't do any of these things, but for the first time, coffee was warm and it didn't chill out after like 5 minutes of drinking. And for the first time, when I actually went to work in Holland, I could see that my fluency in speaking was, yeah, quite nice, and on the level, and it was okay. But when I worked on that phone, and when I was working with the clients on the phone, I mean, it was just like, I had such a nice pronunciation and such nice fluidity. Like, I could access even the Dutch. When I was in Holland learning Dutch, I could just not recall too much and so on. So I could even access those phrases. And when I had a Dutch client, I spoke Dutch to them just a little bit at the beginning, but it always, opens up a different context. So uh, I was stunned with it. Um, and during that time, it was shortly after I had a conversation with my fortune teller, Ivana, with the good fortune teller, about my boss and my work. And so I believed that my boss would be interested in me. And so, I believe Klaudia with her husband was just acting out that story because, um, her husband would ask me if I wanted to go to the market with them, and it would be paid, and we would be just um, selling the toys at the market together with other companies that would come there to advertise themselves. And when Claudia came in, she's like, well, it costs money. We have to check if it pays off and so on. And the next conversation we had was about headphones. They bought headphones. So I was just, talking about the headphones that journalists have. Like they have this, person talking to them in the ear. And then Claudia's husband says like, oh, but that has to be really expensive. And then next time he talked to me about artificial intelligence and looking for clients with artificial intelligence. So, um, so and he told me that it didn't work. So I go like, have you checked with apps? Maybe some applications, because there are applications for everything nowadays. So he goes like, yes, but it costs money. And of course it costs money, but the thing is, they just told me that I would make 20,000 a month. And well, my comparison and experience with applications is like it's 19 zlotys, so it's like $4 a month for Quizlet or Wordwall, two main apps that I used to use, but they also have a lot of free functions. That's true too. So if you're a company that offers 20,000 a month and you say that about 90 zloty is that costs money, well, I don't, I just, um, mm, they were arguing about money in front of me. And one time they entered and they told me they were planning to go to Berlin. And I didn't say like much, but I just look at them and I think, okay, it's gotta say something. So I asked on holiday, and they told me no, that they wanted to go to Berlin to various shops to leave their toys over there as as advertisement, as commercial. Um, yeah. And then what else did I wanted to tell you? Oh, so they wanted to leave their toys over there, and I told them that I had my family there, and they told me then good that we didn't go. And I'm like, but why? Because maybe you could ask your sister if she could go with our toys to the shops, and I said that I didn't know. So Claudia's husband made just a facial expression like of being a sad person. So I told them that I could ask, but I didn't feel comfortable with asking because I wasn't told how many toys specifically would that require of my sister to go where specifically. And I wasn't given a contract yet. So I just find this entire conversation unfair. And during the very first meeting with Claudia, I told her about my family in Berlin. So in that sense, she wasn't very clear, with how she communicated with someone. It was just hidden with scenario. And in the same way, she told me when we met the very first time at the party, she was talking to me about having a boyfriend for 8 years or something like that. And she told me that the boyfriend of hers didn't want to have children. And when I met him, she introduced him as her husband. Yeah. So that was pretty much it. And in that sense, if you understand that Mia, who had a partner who told her that he loved her, and his wife told her that she was jealous that, you know, he was talking to Mia and not to his wife that often. I think it's just acted out, just like, you know, that story with Klaudia and her husband. So, if you're curious about Piglet, if you want to buy Piglet, or if you want to buy my course Amelia, if you want to learn more about, you know, how personalities of gays, lesbians, transvestites, and pedophiles are created via sexual abuse and intertextuality, then click the link in the description of this film, or you can find also the info on my website, on my Facebook, Instagram accounts. So if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.